Is it live or what? I don't even know if it's live. I wonder if this is live. No, I don't do this a lot. Is it live? Let me go back and see. Because I don't know. And live, we're notifying. Oh, no. Okay. So it looks like this is live. All right. So, hey, y'all. This is scripted, okay? So I'm going to be reading something. And I just hope it don't sound like I'm reading it. But it's scripted. Okay. Hey, y'all. So I'm finally ready to tell another part of my story. Okay. And the only reason why I'm doing it now is because I'm no longer in one spot. Before I was stuck in one spot, and I felt if I were to tell my story, like if someone was stalking me or spying on me, it put me in a vulnerable situation. So that's why I wasn't really talking about it. But since I'm on the move now, literally, I actually feel safer in speaking about this part of my life. All right. So here we go. So for a little over a year, I lived in my Dodge Durango. Why, do you ask? I feel it's because I didn't follow my initial intuition. So after my civil union agreement was dismantled, April of 2020, I still faced a child custody battle over my biological twins, Winter Rose and Laker Lou. Although it was agreed the babies would stay with me, and they did until I was forced by a Las Vegas judge to hand my kids over to an ex-partner, and if I didn't, I'd receive a bench warrant out for my arrest. I didn't know what a bench warrant was, and after I Googled it, all kind of scenarios popped into my head. And one of the scenarios was I feared being pulled over by the police and having them rip my babies out of my arms and placing them into a system. So to avoid putting my kids through all of that, I reluctantly handed over my kids. Why did the judge force me to hand over my kids? I'm not sure. Being that the ex and the ex's family were the ones who were physically, emotionally, verbally, and mentally abusive. And yes, I have full evidence of the abuse. However, the judge refused to take my evidence into consideration and instead listened to the defendant's attorney, who told the judge to omit all of my evidence. I no longer had an attorney defending my child custody case because the former attorney refused to present my evidence during one of my hearings. I even made it easy for the lawyer by highlighting all the key information so he didn't have to look for it. I also combed through a 273-page document and highlighted all the most important parts. Basically, I did the lawyer's job, okay? However, my efforts wasn't appreciated, and the attorney stated he was scared to present my evidence because he didn't want to make the judge angry. I still don't understand that. So I fired the lawyer and began representing myself by filing motions and all necessary exhibits, like for evidence, in order to move my case forward. However, every time I attempted to present my evidence, the defendant's attorney told the judge to omit it, and the judge listened to her as if she were representing me. Moreover, the defendant never had any evidence. No evidence at all to represent or to present, only words. The defendant only had words from her mouth. So I guess it made her look better that she had an attorney lying for her or something, I guess. The judge eventually decided to look at 10% of my evidence because he wanted to know why I decided to no longer let my kids be alone with the ex. I allowed FaceTime and phone calls, and we did meetups so she could see the kids. But I just never let my kids be alone with the ex anymore. So that's why the judge decided to look at 10% of my evidence. He was curious as to why. And after the judge viewed the 10% of my evidence, he placed strict orders against the ex's mother and stepfather, Brenda and Paul Flem, to stay away from my babies. He placed strict orders twice in 2 different court hearings. When the strict orders were granted, the ex was pissed off, and told her attorney to tell the judge that she didn't want me calling her phone due to harassment purposes. So basically, that was the excuse she gave the attorney to tell the judge so that I wouldn't call her phone. And if I did call, I guess I would get in some type of trouble or something. I don't. Yeah. She was just mad. So, where was I at? But her asking for her attorney to basically say that I can't call her phone. That was it was purely retaliation towards me because I won a little bit of my case. And what's interesting, I told the judge, I said, now imagine if you took all of my evidence into account. Imagine that. I'd win my entire case if you took all of my evidence into account. I said, I'd win my entire case and some folks might be arrested. However, because I didn't hone the lawyer title, I guess it wouldn't look right for a civilian to win a child custody case against an attorney in title. In the beginning of the court case, the judge told the defendant's attorney she should call for backup help against me and suggested the name of a male attorney. The defendant's attorney became enraged by the judge's comments and would project her frustration on me by telling me to shut up and shut my mouth when it was my turn to speak in court. So court dates would change on me without making me aware, and I felt it was purposely done to give the defendant an upper hand. The last court date was changed from January 28th, 2022 to an earlier date, and I wasn't notified by the judge's assistant, which I usually was, but I wasn't. And as a result, I had to keep filing appeal motions. The ex became super extreme with her behavior and cut off all communication with my kids from June 2021, present day. No FaceTime, no phone calls, no scheduled meetups like I did for her. She just disappeared with my babies. So I was able to see my kids during supervised visits from December 2020 up until June 2021, but it was only once a week. Then every 2 weeks, as it became more difficult, driving 4 hours to Las Vegas and 4 hours back to where I was now in Southern California. The ex never attempted to meet me halfway, and many times the ex waited for me to drive 4 hours into town just to cancel my visit with my babies 10 minutes before they were scheduled to arrive. She did that a lot. I have proof that she purposely canceled my visits as a retaliation tactic because I chose to end our commitment. The ex only wanted legal separation, and her attorney tried to trick me into legal separation, but I did my homework and called her out on it. And while making sure to tell the judge, I don't want a legal separation. I want it to be over, final, done, okay? So I didn't ask for alimony nor child support. I just wanted to be left alone. You know it's bad when a woman says, no, judge, I don't want no alimony and no child support. I just want to be left alone. Because most women, the majority of women, and I'm sure a man would say this, and if y'all men out there listening, chime in. I'm sure most men would say, all women, if not the majority of women, they always go for alimony and they always go for child support because a lot of times men think that, that's the way women stick it to them, right? Stick it to them literally, right? In their pocket, right? But then you have the few, like myself, who just be over it, who just tired. You're tired of the toxicity. You're tired of the low vibes. You're tired of the physical, mental, verbal abuse. You're tired. So you just like, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Okay? So that was how I was. No, judge, I don't want no alimony and child support. I just want to be left alone. I was done. Okay? Um, let's see. So the judge granted a permanent dismantle of the civil union agreement. It wasn't a marriage license, it was a civil union agreement. I got my maiden name of Armstrong back, and the child custody case remained in a pending status, with the ex having temporary custody. It's still in a pending status. No, I did not agree to the custody, but like I said, the ex got the upper hand due to the court changing the date and no one telling me. So I made the decision to not stay in Las Vegas due to harassment from the ex and the ex's goons, to which my vehicle would be violated with profanity written on my car windows. This, of course, means I was being followed, right? How else would they know where my car was to violate it, right? And they intentionally waited for me to walk away from my car to do it. I also did a video and put it on one of my social media platforms talking about the vehicle violation. If anyone ever wants to know if I'm telling the truth, or if anyone ever wants to know any background, all you have to do is go through my social media pages. Seriously. And the documentation will be there, especially on at Honey Child's Cafe on Instagram. It's a lot on there. So I relocated to Southern California with savings. I knew I wanted to eventually buy land and build a tiny house on it, but I also wanted to purchase an RV. So I had dreams of tiny home living and wanted to homeschool my kids for like 6 or 7 months out the year. You know, I'd be working, selling real estate, and then the other months I planned for my kiddos and I to travel the country, which we did a little bit of traveling. I had a sponsor at a brokerage who told me I could transfer my real estate license from Nevada to California. But eventually I discovered that wasn't true. But by the time I received the proper information on this matter, my savings had gotten seriously low. So I didn't want to blow all my money on hotel rooms, so I resorted to living in my Dodge Durango to save money. I figured once I transferred my license, I'd be selling homes and would quickly rebuild and replenish. But it didn't happen like that. It turned out that I had to go back to real estate school to receive a new license in the state of California. So while living in my truck, I enrolled back into real estate school. And I was also enrolled in the Los Angeles Film School. So I was in double schools while living in my truck. I do my homework assignments using the city of Santa Monica's free Wi-Fi connection. And I only stayed in hotels during really big exams so that I could rest better to get the best results for my tests. So while living in my truck, I went to classes via Zoom. I created content for social media pages. I composed, produced, wrote, and sang songs, all from my truck. Okay. If you guys ever listen to some of my music, right? Because I have a lot of videos on here of music that I've produced, composed, sang, and all that, right? It's all my music. If you guys ever decide to listen to any of my music on this social media page here, or even on my music catalog on SoundCloud, which is a link in my profile to that too. You're going to hear cars in the background. You may hear wind. You may even hear ocean waves. And it's because I did it all in my truck. So from the Los Angeles Film School, I received majority A's and B's while earning my music production degree. And I graduated Key Realty School with flying colors. Eventually, living in my truck was wearing on my body. It was just wearing my body down. And I knew I needed to change up things. So I sold my Dodge Durango, something I did not want to do because I love that truck. But I also knew I needed to get a bigger boat for myself and my kiddos because I always had hope to get my kids back. I used the money from the sale of my truck to purchase an RV. And it felt so good to just stand up and walk back and forth and have my own bathroom and have my kitchen in my area, my living area, my bedroom area, which the bedroom with the double beds was for the twins because I had a pull-out couch in the living room for me. So it would seem my tiny living dreams was coming together like I planned. And after I graduated real estate school for a second time and the Los Angeles Film School, I was ready to hit the ground running with composing music and producing songs while flipping houses. I was ready to finally rebuild my foundation, making it stronger and unbreakable for my kiddos and I. Finding a brokerage proved to be difficult, and no one was buying my music and songs just yet. So I put out an album to try and garner sales. But I really didn't think I would garner like sales like that because I was still learning and my music wasn't as polished as what you hear on the radio. So it didn't stop me from making music though. And I ended up making a lot of it, mostly from pain and other times from lust. Mhm. So if you guys ever view my social media pages and you see me in a truck a lot, you know now that that was also my residence. When I got my RV, I was super excited to renovate it, which I still need to do. And being able to drive anywhere and live comfortable was the best thing in the world to me because it allowed me to be places I had never been before. I've experienced a lot of firsts in Southern California, and this journey has definitely been one for the books. Book. Literally. Eventually, I found a part-time job at Starbucks because I needed to make some more money, and I wanted to re-socialize myself with people because I have a tendency to stay away. So, um, but while working at Starbucks in Santa Monica, I accrued a ridiculous amount of parking tickets, because there was nowhere for me to park my huge RV. And as a result, I had to park far away from my job. This is something I didn't take into account before I bought it. I was just thinking of having a bigger boat for my kids. So because there was nowhere for me to park my huge RV, like I said, I had to park far away. And it was hard. My lunch breaks were only 30 minutes, and it wasn't enough time for me to walk to the meter and put money in and walk all the way back. So I would get parking tickets while working at Starbucks. When our store finally received a new manager, I voiced my concern about the parking tickets piling up, and the new manager wrote me a letter to take to the parking office to receive a permit that would allow me to not get any more tickets, basically. The parking office was never open, and when it was open, they wouldn't let me inside. I don't know why they wouldn't let me inside, but they wouldn't let me inside. One time I even walked away and came back because I'm like, I know they open. I know this is the date and the time that it says that it's supposed to be open. I walked away, I came back, and a lady was inside. And I said, how the hell did she get in? They didn't even let me in. And I banged and knocked on the door like, hey. And he was just like, so I had a hard time getting into the parking permit office. Anyway, but eventually a police officer told me that I wouldn't be granted a permit anyway due to the kind of vehicle I have. But I saw so many RVs that had the permit decals, so I wasn't sure why I was any different, but okay. So that Starbucks eventually closed down due to safety concerns, and my coworkers and I dispersed to other Starbucks around town. So for a while, I didn't receive parking tickets, but as soon as I began working at my new Starbucks location, the tickets ramped up again. And what's crazy is I didn't receive tickets at my new location until I stepped out of my RV and was seen by one of the locals who called the police on me. Even though I was parked in a safe zone, there were no signs there, and I never park in front of homes. I only parked in front of like open lot spaces and near mountains. Obviously, it didn't matter though. I was still targeted. It got so bad that locals began ripping my back bumper off of my RV until it hung so low to the ground, I had to duct tape it up. They cut it multiple times. One time I was inside the RV and saw a white boy cut the duct tape and run. Just cut it and bumper fell and he ran. So I don't know if someone paid him to do it or what. It seems like people were targeting me like somebody was paying them to do it, setting me up, but whatever. I don't know if anyone paid him to do it, but I have faced a lot of racism in Southern California. More racism than I ever experienced in my entire life. So not only was I getting crazy tickets while at work, I also had racists targeting my RV too. Eventually, harassment would get out of hand to the point of June 9th, 2023 and August 4th, 2023 unfolding, as if it was the final buildup of all the horrible things I had been through thus far. If you're interested in hearing about what happened on those particular dates, just follow my social media pages and the info is on there. So here I am today, a music producer, composer, singer, songwriter, realtor, content creator, website builder, social media influencer, podcaster, and most importantly, a mother. A mother whose children are still being hidden from me with no contact whatsoever due to the ex pulling a disappearing act with my babies. A mother who keeps filing motions in court hoping for someone to locate where my kids are and if they are well. I'm also a young woman who's been violated, harassed, and physically assaulted by Malibu police officers who tackled me to the ground, placed handcuffs on me, ultimately arresting me because I turned and walked away. The police took my RV, which is my primary residence, and it appears they are more than happy adding to the homeless crisis here in the state of California. Like I said, if you want to hear about those stories, you got to go to my social media pages. Obstacles have been constant in my life, and I've been hurt a lot by people, but I've remained strong, sane, and progressive despite all the chaos surrounding me. I've remained kind and professional when coworkers were rude, deceitful, and backstabbing. I've remained pure-hearted, but never taking anyone's bullshit. My newfound wisdom won't allow me to put up with anybody's bullshit, as I've learned that protecting my energy is of the utmost importance. I've fallen in love with myself. I've gotten to know myself very well, and I truly value me. I am a very real thing in a very fake world, and sometimes it sucks. But I could care less about fame, but I will take the fortune. My celibacy has contributed in amazing ways to my artistry, and has heightened my childlike energy and purity. I never went this long without having sex, but this is definitely a first. But I know it'll be extra special when I finally experience the one for me, right? So guys, this is just a brief summarization of how I got here. Here. Like I said, I've always wanted to talk about it, and I'm not ashamed of my journey because we all have one. Everybody's got a story, right? And our stories is how we relate and connect. I know I'm not the only one going through things, but I am one of many who decided to share. I guarantee you there are people out there who know me that think I'm out here living high on the hog, as my Southern grandma Willie Mae would say. No, I'm not living high on the hog. I'm just living proof that you can have considerably less than others and still find happiness and peace because it comes from within. Your inner world must match your outer world. If you're chaotic on the inside, you'll be chaotic on the outside. If you're peaceful and high vibing on the inside, it'll radiate on the outside. So don't ever let your current conditions define you. If you're struggling financially, you can choose how to react to the circumstances. Yes, it can be difficult, absolutely. But being angry and negative about the situation all the time only increases the depth of that dark hole you keep going down, right? So just be mindful of that. So you guys can find me on TikTok at Shonda Strong 21, which is what I'm on now. I'm at that girl Shonda _ and Wind Lake Real Estate. My blog is ahoodtalks.com. My podcast is at anchor.fm/ Everybody's Got a Story. My catalog of music is on SoundCloud at Shonda Strong 21. Not all my music. Some music I keep under wraps. But a good amount of my music is on my SoundCloud catalog at Shonda Strong 21. My album can be found on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and it's called It's a Vibe if you want to check it out. I'm also on Instagram at Honeychild's Cafe and at Honeychild's Candles. I'm on Smool, which is a singing app, at Vintage Vibes. So I have a lot of options for you guys to connect with me if you're interested. So thanks for listening, y'all. I appreciate your time, and I hope you got something helpful out of this. Peace, y'all.